Her friend Janice had stood her up again. Maybe she never really wanted to go to the art gallery, but if that was the case, that's all she had to say. There was really no need to leave her standing here, waiting for her, without a word as to why she has not shown up as yet. Melanie loved art, and she was not going to miss this opportunity. Oh well, she'll go by herself if she really have to. She was about to turn and walk inside when she noticed Tim from her office coming up the street. Was he going to the art exhibit as well? Maybe she was saved and didn't have to go alone after all. She stood there and waited for him to walk in her direction. Tim noticed Melanie standing in between the library and the art gallery. He hoped she was going to the library so he wouldn't have to listen to her rattle on. He liked her, but she could talk, and it was not always good stuff she talked about. She was always gossiping about someone. He especially did not want to talk about work either. Hey, Tim!
Hey Melanie. Hey Melanie, what's up? What are you doing here? Going to the library or the exhibition?
Why was he speaking so fast? Was he nervous? What was he nervous about? Please say library, please say library. He whispered. Oh, what are you doing here? Melanie countered. I asked first, he said, but shrugged his shoulders and replied, Yeah, I'm going to the exhibition. Exhibition? Melanie interjected hopefully. Well, I was going to go to the library first, Tim wanted to say, but knowing that line was wrong, he sighed inwardly and shook his head in agreement. Yeah, he responded. Want to go together? Melanie asked. Janice let me down as usual. We were supposed to go together, but she didn't show up. You probably want to pick better friends, Tim said with a grin. That's cool. We can go in together. The day? It went much better than he expected. Well, especially when she was not bashing Janice for not showing up. She was good company when she wasn't doing that. Tim recognized that Melanie was very knowledgeable about arts, and he had much more fun and enjoyed the exhibition much more because of her knowledge. At the end, as they parted ways, he determined he would be much more friendly to her at the office. He also realized as a friend and a Christian, he should probably let her know that talking about others behind their backs was not Christ-like at all. However, he determined that was going to have to be for another day. He didn't want to ruin the vibes. Later that week, Tim ran into Melanie at the office a few times, and as they talked, the conversation came to the fire that was raging in the region in which she lived. He asked her if her home was not in the fire zone and wondered if she was concerned at all about the fire that was raging almost out of control. Melanie looked at him with eyes wide open. I thought I was hundreds of miles away from it, or where I live. See, being new to the area, Melanie was surprised to hear this news. Oh, you were? But I guess you haven't heard, Tim asked. The winds have shifted drastically, and now, well, the fire has turned and is heading in the direction of the forest. You know that beautiful forest that you're always speaking of behind you? The forest behind me, where I live? Oh, this is terrible news. I should leave and go home now to make sure my house is going to be okay. Melanie asked and said it at the same time because she had already turned and walked away, heading to her desk to grab her things and head home, missing the question Tim had asked if she had anyone else to help her. Melanie sat on her porch, staring at the forest and praying that the fire would not rear its ugly head anywhere near her or her beautiful forest. She could see the smoke in the distance and wished and hoped it was much, much farther away. She could tell things were different in the forest. There was an eerie silence all of a sudden. Just an occasional screech or hoot, roar of a bear, or bark of a fox. Maybe they were running to safety. She had done all she could do. She had soaked her house with water and had the buckets and hose primed and ready. Her biggest hope was that the river behind her house would be a deterrent to the fire and squelch the flames before they decided to land on her piece of land. She had called some of her so-called friends to help her, but everyone had a reason that they could not come. She had fought so hard and did some unethical things to get this home of her dreams. Now the irony was, it was going to go up in smoke, and she was powerless to do anything to stop it. She had not prayed in a while. Ever since she began the journey of purchasing this home, many of the things she had done, she felt God could not forgive her. So she eased up on the praying and the reading of the Bible. Now there was nothing else to do for her to save her home. It was afternoon, all her preparations had been made, and it was in the hand of nature, who she knew to be God. She sat and listened to the sound of nature. It was eerily quiet. As an eagle flew by, screeching its objection to the condition of his home, or lack of it, she got up and walked into the house. What could she do to pass the time? Oh, she could pray, but why would God listen to a liar and cheat like her? Because he loves you and what's best for you? The still small voice said. But you know what I did, she countered. Of course, I know everything. I can't, you can't love me after all that. Oh, but I do, and I've never stopped, responded the voice in her head. Melanie walked over to the piano and began plucking at the keys. Before she knew it, she was playing one of her favorite songs and humming the words, Amazing Grace. She didn't realize when the tears began to flow. All she knew was that her fingers were slipping off the keys because of the fast-flowing tears. Falling to her knees, she cried out in anguish, Father, forgive me, please. I have strayed so far from you, and I have done so many things unlike you. I know you understand my heart, and I can't run from you anymore. I need your love and forgiveness. I have been a horrible friend and representative for you. It was my guilt and shame I tried to outrun. You know, Lord, I have done some not so nice things to get this house, and now I'm about to lose it. Or at least the possibility is strong. I deserve to lose it. But I am begging you, please don't allow my house to burn up in this terrible fire. Please, Lord. However, if I'm to lose it, then it is your will. If not, I know you can save it and all the creatures in the forest behind me, Lord. That is also in your will. And whatever you decide, I will never, ever stop serving you ever again. I won't allow my selfishness to overcome me to the extent that I will ever compromise my beliefs again. After being on her knees for how long she wasn't sure, Melanie stood up and felt the happiest she had been in years. The happiest actually ever since she began the journey to buy this home. Now she could continue to fight to save her home, but she knew that God was in control, and whatever his decision was, she would live with it. As she looked over to the river, she caught the first glimpse of the red glow of fire peering through the trees. It was still far back, but closer than she'd hoped for. It was moving fast. Her hope was to have at least one more night of rest in her home, but that was if she would be able to sleep at all tonight with the fire being so close. She was here alone, so she needed to stay vigilant in case the wind blew live ashes her way. It was going to be a long night, but at least she wouldn't have to worry about that reoccurring dream tonight, right? She thought to herself as she walked into the house to get some dinner. Suddenly she was hungry, and she knew she needed to keep her strength up for what was to come later on that evening. She was not looking forward to doing this alone, but that was the price she had to pay for pushing everyone out of her life with her gossip and lies. Once she survived this, she had a lot of amends to make and friendships to repair. But well, tomorrow is another day. Sufficient is the evil of today, she thought to herself. And boy, there was some strong evil coming her way in the form of a destructive fire.